Chapter 4: Demography, Diversity, and Lifespan. Life expectancy in America is about 79. We should be able to live to 92. Somewhere along the line, we're leaving 13 years on the table. So my quest is, how do we get those extra 13 years? And how do we make those extra 13 years good years? Dan Buettner. According to Census Demographics data in 2021, 331.9 million people lived in the United States. The population grew by 392,665 from 2020 to 2021, or 0.1%, the lowest annual growth rate since the nation's founding. In the United States, the population is changing and growing more diverse. Immigration made up 62.3% of annual growth as births decreased and deaths increased. 2021 U.S. population by race and ethnicity. White, 60.1%. Black, 12.2%. Hispanic, 18.5%. Asian, 5.6%. American Indian/Alaska Native, 0.7%. Native Hawaiian/Other Pacific Islander, 0.2%. Multiple races, 8%. The non-Hispanic white population fell below 60% in the 2020 census, with Hispanic Americans accounting for 51% of population growth between 2010 and 2020. The median age for Hispanic Americans is 29.8, nearly 9 years lower than the median age of 38.5 for the entire U.S. population. About 8% of the Hispanic population is over 65, compared to 17% of the total population. 31% of Hispanic Americans are under 18, compared to 22% of the nation. Nearly 1 out of every 715 people in the U.S. died from coronavirus in 2021. That's 464,000 people. In 2021, 34 million Americans tested positive for COVID-19, up to 70% from 20 million in 2020. As of January 31st, 2022, 75% of the population had received at least one COVID-19 vaccine. 27% had received a booster shot. Personal healthcare spending was $3.4 trillion in 2020, a 4.5% increase from 2019. 28 million Americans, 8.6% of the population, did not have health insurance in 2020, up from 8% in 2019. Preliminary data shows that 3.4 million people died in 2021, 13% more than in 2019. The top 3 causes, heart disease, cancer, and COVID-19, accounted for 50% of deaths. The federal government spent $141 billion on public health in 2021, a 21% decrease from 2020, but more than double its 2019 public health spending. The population is getting older, and more people are living alone. Starting in 2030, when all boomers will be older than 65, older Americans will make up 21% of the population, up from 15% today. By 2060, nearly 1 in 4 Americans will be 65 years and older. The number of 85 plus will triple, and the country will add 500,000 centenarians. Based on available demographic evidence, the human lifespan shows no sign of approaching a fixed limit imposed by biology or other factors. Rather, both the average and the maximum human lifespan have increased steadily over time for more than a century. Each day, our society becomes more and more diverse. We meet more people daily, and each one brings a new perspective about something into our lives. People everywhere have different opinions and ideas that we might never have thought of. Your lives are filled with people, each with different backgrounds and experiences, whom we interact with every day. Diversity shows itself peeking out from the corner in many ways, including race, sexuality, culture, values, religion, gender, and an abundance of other ways. Diversity has not always been welcomed with open arms, but more and more we see people opening their minds to others' ideas. Embracing diversity into your life is how you find all the brilliant ideas out there in the world. It is how you learn more about the world around us. By exploring other ideas, beliefs, and lifestyles with an open mind, you open yourself to exercise creativity and problem solving by looking at things from other lenses. If you only take one perspective about events in the world, you will never understand the other perspectives behind them, and therefore lock yourself into a sort of closed-minded ideology that has only led to prejudice throughout history. Diversity brings beauty and strength to your life. I will now share with you one of my favorite poems by Maya Angelou, who personifies diversity, beauty, and strength. Pretty women wander where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model's size, but when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man, the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say it's the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say it's in the arc of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breasts, the grace of my style. I'm a woman phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need of my care. 'Cause I'm a woman phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Phenomenal woman, Maya Angelou. Does the place you live and your environment have an important role in your longevity? Living a long and happy life depends largely on your lifestyle choices. Everything from what you eat to how much you exercise to the speed at which you walk affects your lifespan in major ways. But according to an extraordinary new assessment by the U.S. Burden of Disease collaborators, where you live also matters. According to an article written by Diana Brooke and published in Best Life, a recent study analyzed 333 causes and 84 risk factors of mortality from 1990 to 2016 to provide the first ever assessment of patterns of health in America state by state. The highest life expectancy went to Hawaii, which clocked in at 81.3 years. The lowest went to Mississippi, where the life expectancy was only 74.7 years. The life expectancy of every state was assessed to inform national health priorities for research, clinical care, and policy. But they are also useful to keep in mind, especially if you're either retired or self-employed, and therefore have the freedom to live anywhere you want. The following are some of the states that have some of the highest life expectancies. Hawaiians make it to the ripe old age of 81.3, but you don't have to live on a beach on one of the smaller islands to enjoy its benefits. After all, Honolulu recently ranked as number 1 in waste removal, air pollution, infectious diseases, and water quality in a study on the best places to live abroad. California is the closest in America that you can get to Sardinia, where people regularly live over the age of 90, with an average life expectancy of 80.9 years. Californians aren't too far behind, though, probably because they follow the same rules for longevity. Sardinia's 5 secrets to longevity are: eat a lean, plant-based diet, accented with meat, drink goat's milk, put family first, participate in daily physical activity, and drink a glass of red wine daily. Connecticut, where the life expectancy is 80.8 years, is one of the richest states in America, and wealthy people do tend to live longer. But as Warren Buffett recently warned people, it's important to remember that money does not equal happiness. Research has identified positivity as one of the personality traits that are guaranteed to extend your life. Minnesotans are a cheerful bunch, which is probably part of what makes their average life expectancy 80.8 years. The Affordable Care Act was modeled after Massachusetts' universal health care. Access to good health care is one of the deciding factors of longevity, which is why Massachusetts clocks in at 80.4 years. Washington, where the average life expectancy is 80.2 years, is consistently ranked as one of the most environmentally friendly states in America. It's also got 3 national parks within state boundaries for people who love to hike. And research has shown that it is possible to walk your way to a longer life. I know that the place where you live and your environment have an important role in your longevity. Living a long and happy life depends largely on your lifestyle choices. Everything from what you eat to how much you exercise to the speed at which you walk affects your lifespan in major ways. One of my clients, Thomas, decided to move his family from crowded New York City during the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic to a small town in upstate New York. Thomas enjoys the outdoors, and both he and his wife can work from home. Of course, they miss the diversity that New York City offers, but the country lifestyle, hiking, and clean air suit them best. According to the New York Times bestselling author Dan Buettner, the top happiest cities in the United States are, in order, 1. Boulder, Colorado, 2. Santa Cruz and Watsonville, California, 3. Charlottesville, Virginia, 4. Fort Collins, Colorado, 5. San Luis Obispo, Paso Robles, and Rio Grande, California, 6. San Jose, Sunnyvale, and Santa Clara, California, 7. Provo and Orem, Utah, 8. Bridgeport and Stamford, Connecticut, 9. Barnstable, Massachusetts, 10. Anchorage, Alaska, 11. Naples, Immokalee, and Marco Island, Florida, 12. Santa Maria and Santa Barbara, California, 13. Salinas, California, 14. Northport, Sarasota, and Bradenton, Florida, 15. Honolulu, Hawaii, 16. Ann Arbor, Michigan, 17. San Francisco, Oakland, and Hayward, California, 18. Colorado Springs, Colorado, 19. Manchester and Nashua, New Hampshire, 20. Oxnard, Thousand Oaks, and Ventura, California, 21. Washington, D.C., Arlington, and Alexandria, Virginia, 22. Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota, 23. San Diego and Carlsbad, California, 24. Portland and South Portland, Maine. With lifespans growing ever longer, the opportunities for our third stage of life have never been greater. In a recent summit on aging, Maria Shriver interviewed Dan Buettner, explorer, journalist, National Geographic Fellow, and New York Times bestselling author, and Dr. Laura L. Carstensen, professor of psychology and public policy at Stanford University and founding director of the Stanford Center on Longevity. They talked about why our world must undergo a massive shift in consciousness to better support our increasing longevity and what we can learn from cultures that are living the longest, healthiest lives. Dr. Laura L. Carstensen believes that age-integrated cities, workplaces, and households are good for our health, and changes in behavior toward older people can lead to a positive shift in attitudes. Also, Dr. Carstensen talked about the need to create new language and vocabulary for aging, and the need for policy changes that might create more sustainable environments for aging. Dan Buettner talked about the places in the world, dubbed blue zones, where people live the longest, healthiest lives. Dan now works in partnership with governments, large employers, and other entities to apply lessons learned from the blue zones to improve lives and communities. He is the author of the new book, The Blue Zones Challenge, a 4-week plan for a longer, better life. What began as a National Geographic expedition led by Dan Buettner to uncover the secrets of longevity evolved into the discovery of the 5 places around the world where people consistently live over 100 years old, dubbed the Blue Zones. Dan and his team of demographers, scientists, and anthropologists were able to distill the evidence-based common denominators of these blue zones into 9 commonalities listed below that they call the Power 9. They have since taken these principles to communities across the United States, working with policymakers, local businesses, schools, and individuals to shape the environments of the Blue Zones project communities. What has been found is that putting the responsibility of curating a healthy environment on the individual does not work. But through policy and environmental changes, the Blue Zones project communities have been able to increase life expectancy, reduce obesity, and make the healthy choice the easy choice for millions of Americans. A Danish twin study established that only about 20% of how long the average person lives is dictated by one's genes, whereas the other 80% is dictated by one's lifestyle. In 2004, Dan Buettner, CEO of Blue Zones LLC, was determined to uncover the specific aspects of lifestyle and environment that led to longevity. By teaming up with National Geographic and the National Institute on Aging, Dan and his team found the 5 demographically confirmed, geographically defined areas with the highest percentage of centenarians: Loma Linda, California, U.S., Nicoya, Costa Rica, Sardinia, Italy, Ikaria, Greece, and Okinawa, Japan. These 5 areas were located using epidemiological data, statistics, birth certificates, and other research. Once these areas were established, they sent in a term of anthropologists, demographers, epidemiologists, and researchers to identify the lifestyle characteristics that might explain longevity. Many individuals have the capacity to make it well into the early 90s, and largely without chronic disease. Blue Zones uncovered 9 evidence-based common denominators among the world's centenarians that are believed to slow this aging process. 1. Move naturally. The world's longest-lived people do not pump iron, run marathons, or join gyms. Instead, they live in environments that constantly nudge them into moving without thinking about it. They grow gardens and do not have mechanical conveniences for house and yard work. 2. Purpose. The Okinawans call it ikigai, and the Nicoyans call it plan de vida. For both, it translates to why I wake up in the morning. Knowing your sense of purpose is worth up to 7 years of extra life expectancy. 3. Downshift. Even people in the blue zones experience stress. Stress leads to chronic inflammation, associated with every major age-related disease. The world's longest-lived people have routines to shed that stress. Okinawans take a few moments each day to remember their ancestors. Adventists pray. Icarians take a nap. And Sardinians do happy hour. 4. 80% rule. Hara Hashibu, the Okinawan 2,500-year-old Confucian mantra said before meals, reminds them to stop eating when their stomachs are 80% full. The 20% gap between not being hungry and feeling full could be the difference between losing weight or gaining it. People in the blue zones eat their smallest meal in the late afternoon or early evening, and then they do not eat any more the rest of the day. 5. Plant slant. Beans, including fava, black, soy, and lentils, are the cornerstone of most centenarian diets. Meat, mostly pork, is eaten on average only 5 times per month. Serving sizes are 3 to 4 ounces. 6. Wine. Most people in all blue zones drink 1 to 2 glasses per day, with friends and or with food at 5 p.m. Moderate drinkers outlive non-drinkers. 7. Belong. All but 5 of the 263 centenarians interviewed belonged to some faith-based community. Research shows that attending faith-based services 4 times per month will add 4 to 14 years of life expectancy. 8. Loved ones first. Successful centenarians in the blue zones put their families first. This means keeping aging parents and grandparents nearby or in the home. It lowers disease and mortality rates of children in the home, too. They commit to a life partner, which can add up to 3 years of life expectancy, and invest in their children with time and love. 9. Right tribe. The world's longest-lived people choose or were born into social circles that supported healthy behaviors. Okinawans created moais, groups of 5 friends that committed to each other for life. Research from the Framingham studies shows that smoking, obesity, happiness, and even loneliness are contagious. The social networks of long-lived people favorably shaped their health behaviors. In summary, it is important to select where and what kind of lifestyle we want to live. It is abundantly clear that we need to be involved and committed to work toward the creation of governmental policies for more sustainable environments for the aging and develop and maintain partnerships with governments, large employers, and other entities to improve lives and communities nationwide.